President Trump walks back tariffs on most products from Mexico and Canada again.
President Trump to introduce trade tariffs on Canada and Mexico is fast closing in. Speaking on Thursday, the president
said no end to the tariff war with Canada. President Trump is now taking aim at dairy and lumber imports, but Canada is
in a rapidly evolving trade conflict. Tensions between Canada and the U.S. are reaching a new peak. Amid President Donald Trump's imposition of high tariffs on Canadian goods, British Columbia is now threatening to impose restrictions, tolls, or even block U.S. vehicles from traveling through its territory on routes crucial to Alaska's supply chains. What could this mean for Alaska's vulnerable transportation system, the broader U.S. economy, and the future of North American relations? In this report, we'll dive into the factors driving Canada's countermeasures, examine the potential consequences for U.S. transit, and explore the political fallout. To understand the depth of this issue, we first need to step back and look at the broader context. Under President Trump's administration, the U.S. imposed a series of high tariffs on Canadian goods, including steel and aluminum, under the premise of protecting American industry and reducing trade imbalances. These measures were widely seen as a move to rebalance trade, but they have left Canada frustrated and looking for ways to retaliate. As Canada's frustration builds, countermeasures have been brewing. Ottawa has already imposed retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods, but now British Columbia, a key Canadian province, is exploring more aggressive options. At the heart of this escalating conflict is Alaska, which is deeply reliant on access through Canada to the lower 48 states. Known as the Alcan Highway, this route is the primary road for transporting goods from the continental U.S. to Alaska. Without a direct land route through Canada, Alaska's ability to receive vital supplies like food, fuel, and construction materials would be severely impaired. In fact, almost 90% of the goods Alaska relies on pass through Canadian territory, including British Columbia. So what exactly is British Columbia threatening? The provincial government has made it clear that they are considering tolls, taxes, or even partial blockades on U.S. vehicles. These measures, while extreme, are not out of the question given the ongoing trade tensions. While the federal government in Ottawa may not fully endorse such drastic measures, the provincial government of British Columbia is in a position to take action unilaterally. This creates a situation where a local political move could trigger international consequences. So, what would be the impact if these restrictions or tolls were implemented? The most immediate consequences would be felt by Alaska. With its supply chain so heavily dependent on Canadian transit, any disruption could cause delays in critical supplies, potentially leading to shortages. This could result in a ripple effect, where businesses in Alaska face increased costs, which would ultimately be passed on to consumers. Moreover, industries such as construction, which relies on materials like cement and steel, could face severe delays, further hindering Alaska's economic stability. Beyond the economic effects, the political ramifications would also be significant. The situation could spark a heated debate in Washington. Lawmakers in Alaska and other affected states might push for strong diplomatic intervention, putting pressure on President Trump to negotiate or offer concessions. The political fallout could be felt beyond Alaska. If the disruption spreads to other U.S. states or industries, the Trump administration may have to reconsider its approach to Canadian tariffs. The threat of further escalation could push the U.S. to the negotiating table, but with both sides already entrenched, finding common ground could prove difficult. But are these threats from British Columbia serious? Or are they just a negotiation tactic aimed at getting the U.S. to back down on tariffs? If the situation escalates, the potential consequences could be severe. The U.S. and Canada are deeply intertwined in terms of trade, and any disruption in the flow of goods could reverberate through the North American economy. Both nations have a lot to lose, and while a diplomatic compromise is possible, the risks of a trade war cannot be ignored. What comes next? Will a diplomatic resolution be reached, or are we headed for a full-blown trade war? A trade war could also affect broader North American alliances, especially as global dynamics shift. The U.S. and Canada, once seen as close economic and political partners, might find themselves at odds, with ramifications reaching beyond just trade, potentially affecting everything from defense cooperation to regional security. As tensions between the U.S. and Canada continue to rise, the future of Alaska's vital supply routes hangs in the balance. While British Columbia's threats are not to be taken lightly, the hope remains that diplomacy will prevail, preventing a full-scale breakdown in relations. However, if the situation escalates, the implications could be felt across the entire continent, altering the course of North American trade and cooperation for years to come.